everyone, and welcome back to Ashram Talks. We explore chapter 2, verse 10, when Arjun chose to shelter himself in the guidance of a higher power. Even at the chaos of the battle, that moment opened the door to everything that followed. So if you miss it, be sure to catch up on our YouTube channel. There's so much more you won't want to miss. So today we turn to verse 11 of chapter 2, where Krishna finally speaks and offers the first seed of wisdom that blossoms throughout the Gita. So joining us from Sussex is Madhuvrata, here to help us unpack this pivotal verse. Madhuvrata, please take it from here. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Subhadra. Thank you for hosting. Are you ready for me to start? Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So I'm just going to start with a little invocation or Mangala Charana to my teacher, my Gurudev, and all our previous teachers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namoram Vishnu Padaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Iti Namine. So thank you, Subhadra. I'm very excited to be continuing with our Bhagavad Gita study. This week we're going to be looking at, or today rather, we're going to be looking at Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse 11. So as we heard in the previous class from Chandramukhi, then Arjuna has really come to the end of his sort of confusion and lamentation, and he's finally sort of surrendered to Krishna. He said, I don't really know what to do. I don't know what to do. And therefore he surrendered to the higher power and to this superior knowledge, spiritual knowledge that Krishna is going to give him. So Arjuna, being in this condition of complete surrender, as I discussed in my last class, and identifying himself like as a disciple of Krishna, then he is now ready, if you like, or receptive for these spiritual truths. So we're going to look at the verse on screen now. I'm just waiting for it to come on. Not coming on yet, so I'm going to just start to read it. Here it is. So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So this means the blessed Lord said. Uvacha means said. So this is the beginning, as I said, of Lord Krishna's instructions. He says, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So this seems to be, when we first look at it, like quite a harsh instruction, but actually it's coming from a place of great compassion. And it's the beginning of Krishna teaching about the nature of matter and the nature of spirit. So this class is subtitled, Essential Teachings on Matter and Spirit, because this is when Krishna begins his instructions on matter and spirit and the difference between them and how they interact within this material world. So it's a very fascinating subject. And as we've discussed before, this knowledge is coming down through an unbroken chain from guru to disciple to guru to disciple, like this. And this knowledge is not influenced. It's been passed from Krishna down through what we call Guru Parampara. And it's not influenced by politics or power or money or kings, because all of these people who are passing down this knowledge without changing it are not interested in those things. It's not like they're passing down the knowledge in order to get some political favor or changing anything for their own purposes. This knowledge is passed down through a chain of mostly renunciates that have no interest in material gain. So therefore, this information, this spiritual instruction, is very reliable to us. It's like a thread of pure truth or pure knowledge. So Krishna begins to instruct Arjuna, and this is the first instruction that Krishna gives to Arjuna. And as I said, it does sound a little bit intense and harsh. But my spiritual teacher, my Gurudev, when he met people for the first time, he would also give this instruction. One of the first things that he would say to them is, do you realize, my dear friend, that you are not this physical body? You are not this physical body. So this is like really the greatest type of compassion, because mostly our distress within this world, and most of our experiences are into us through school and through parents and through society in general, especially in the West, not so much in Eastern tradition, but in the West. Then we are sort of conditioned into this idea that you are the material body, and that everything that happens to the material body is somehow directly happening to you. And in some ways it is, because we are identifying with this body. So this type of information, this type of knowledge, is actually born from the greatest type of compassion, and based on a higher vision, not necessarily our illusory paradigm, you can say. So the idea of one of the ideas of compassion behind spiritual teachings is that to allow someone to continue in an illusory concept of life is not necessarily merciful or compassionate. So conversely, the highest type of compassion is to give this type of spiritual instruction. And this instruction is not, as I said, coming from me at all. I'm just like repeating the words that Krishna is saying here, that have been passed down through our Guru Parampara. But that said, the person receiving that instruction, he needs to be receptive, or sort of ready, if you like, for that instruction. In another place in the Gita, it says that in some circumstances we shouldn't instruct those who are not ready to receive certain subjects, because it will just make a disturbance. So within the Vedas, there is a very gradual sort of education process, if you like, that comes up to some of these higher teachings. But this teaching, it's like the 101 of Vedic study, if you like, that we are not this material body, and that the destruction of this body is not necessarily worthy of overly lamenting for. So Krishna is saying that Arjuna's grief and lamentation in this situation, and as we've heard in chapter 1 and the beginning of chapter 2, is based on the idea or the thought of engaging in battle with his relatives, because obviously battle includes the inevitability of possibly killing some of them, as we or he understands it. And that idea, Krishna is saying, that idea of Arjuna's grief and lamentation is based on ignorance or illusion as to the sort of overriding idea of how the material world works. So this idea or this paradigm is that when the body is destroyed, when this body is gone, then the soul or the consciousness, the personality that is within the body, is also destroyed. So this is, as I was saying before, this is the presiding, if you like, dominant Western modern theory that's propagated by most of science. That at the time of death, after that, then there is nothing. There is just non-existence, if you like, or like a void. So when most people think about death, unless they're particularly religious, which in the West people are not necessarily that inclined religiously or spiritually these days, they think about death being the end. That's it. And there is nothing beyond that. So therefore, we fear death. I mean, death is fearful anyway because of the change that happens at that time, and the process that we may go through in order to leave this body. But the idea that we will no longer exist in any form, that is really not supported by Vedic spiritual teachings. So then there is this great fear of death, and therefore this process of birth and death, which really is such a vast subject. We're not going to get through it in the next 15 minutes. It's begun here by Krishna to Arjuna, and it is really the subject of chapter 2 and of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Really, is this process of the cycle of birth and death. And out of compassion, Krishna is therefore trying to dispel Arjuna, or our bodily conception, his illusion, his lamentation, and also his grief. So in this verse, Krishna is saying to Arjuna that you are speaking learned words. So as we have heard in the previous chapter, Arjuna is taking many things from different types of knowledge, and it's Vedic knowledge, but it's Vedic material knowledge, in order to support the idea that he shouldn't engage in this battle. And primarily because he feels like this sin, as we've discussed before, the sin of engaging in battle and killing his relatives is something that he cannot bear. So Krishna is saying that you are speaking learned words. So therefore, in as I was saying before, in modern day society, we hear many theories and many ideas, mostly coming from scientific community, to back up the idea that death is the absolute end. And like I say, we are taught in school, and we are taught in general by society and our parents that, live out your life to the absolute maximum and enjoy to the max, because death is the end. Primarily because science has yet to penetrate the veil beyond death, so it remains a great mystery, and therefore there is no, if you like, empirical evidence for life beyond death, because there is no, if you like, device that can go there and see what happens to us at the time of death, and what is the destination of our consciousness. So therefore, it's one of the greatest mysteries in life, is that what happens to us after death, and where do we come from before birth. But all of these things are explained 5,000 years ago without the need for telescopes and microscopes and the string theory and the rest of it. So science as we know it cannot really even detect the presence of consciousness, because really they don't have basically what these machines that scientists use do is extend the senses, so therefore we have the power of sight. Therefore a telescope can extend our senses into outer space, and we can see things that are very far away, and an electron microscope, we can see things that are very, very tiny. But really all it's doing is extending the senses. And because the senses sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, cannot perceive the soul directly, then also these scientific apparatus, they cannot also detect consciousness, which is in a way ironic because evidence for consciousness is everywhere. Within all everything that is living really is powered by consciousness. But because there's nothing that they can actually sort of put a figure on, if you like, then it is said that it may or it may not exist. I think the jury's a little bit out, and I think also some sort of contemporary scientists are looking into these things, and that really, so life really is just, if you like, electrical signals which are generated by the chance combination of material elements. This is the sort of basis of our scientific understanding, that when material elements combine in a certain form, then life, as we know it, is generated. But there's a fascinating book by our Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's called "Life Comes from Life." So therefore, the converse idea to this is that life or consciousness comes before matter, and it is consciousness inhabiting matter, same different material bodies, that actually that is the life within the body. And as soon as that consciousness, that soul, leaves the physical body, then that body is said to be dead. If you think about it, what is the difference between at the time of death, if we look at a body that is still alive, and then a minute later, a body that has passed or is said to be dead, everything actually is still there. All the material elements are still there. All the blood, bones, sinew, tissue, everything is there. What is the difference? The soul or the consciousness has actually departed from that vehicle. So therefore, Krishna is about to explain in this chapter that the actual situation is that we are not the physical body, but we are the soul or consciousness within the body. So this is like one of the main takeaways from this verse. And he's not actually really going into that yet. In the next verse, he will explain that about the eternality of the soul, and there is never a time that I or you or all these others on the battlefield did not exist, and then the future will cease to exist. So he's just sort of touching on the subject here. So a very simple example of this idea of the soul within the body is like if we imagine a person within a car. This is a very basic example. So the car is the vehicle, the person within the car is the intelligence that is driving the car. And when the car becomes too old or broken, then we naturally move to a replacement car. So, and this is the same with the body. The body is a vehicle or a machine for experiencing this material realm. If you can almost imagine it like a space suit. If you've gone to another planet and you need a particular type of suit to live in a particular type of atmosphere, that is what this body is like. So, in order to live within this atmosphere of planet Earth, the soul needs this type of material body. And then this also brings up the idea of transmigration from body to body, which is also known as reincarnation, which Krishna will get into later on. The idea that the soul at the time of death then again moves to another suitable type of body for one reason or another, and that is karma, and Krishna will also get into that. So if we look at our subject for today as well, that is the essential teachings on matter and spirit, let's just look briefly at the qualities of each, taking my, if you like, embodied situation as an example. So therefore, the physical body is composed of matter, that is earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which in turn is transposed into bone, blood, fat, saliva, all of the hair, all of these different types of things which compose the material body. But the point about this is that matter has a cycle, if you like. It comes into being, if you like, at birth. It undergoes transformations during its existence or maintenance, and then ultimately it becomes no longer useful, and then it decomposes or is burnt and goes back to the earth. So that, I know, again, I don't want to talk about material scientists too much, but there is a certain group that are always trying to extend life. But the only thing they can do is extend the temporary nature of matter, maybe another 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. Even some people have frozen themselves to come back when there's a cure for whatever it is that is destroying the body. So this is matter, really, and the overall quality, therefore, of matter is that it's temporary. It undergoes transformation, and it's like cyclic, if you like. It comes into existence and is then destroyed. So this is the temporary nature. But when we examine the nature of the spiritual nature, the overall quality of spiritual nature is that is eternality. So therefore, spiritual nature is always existing. It happens to be at some point residing in one particular type of body or another. But when it moves into other types of bodies, really there's no change there within the spirit. So eternality is one of the primary characteristics, if you like, of spirit. And also within that, it's also said that spirit is composed of sat, chit, and ananda. So sat means eternality, which we've discussed. Chit means filled with knowledge, and ananda. So ananda means filled with bliss or love, actually. So these are the fundamental differences between matter and spirit. And it's sometimes said that matter and spirit are a little bit like oil and water. So if you put oil within water, it doesn't mix, but it can coexist within a vehicle. So in that way, we coexist within this material body. And that is also a great mystery, how spirit and matter coexist within a particular situation. So again, just to repeat, that the self is within the vehicle of the body, and the self doesn't come into being and is also never destroyed. It simply moves between suitable bodies, and the material body is a suitable temporary vehicle for it. And this is what Krishna is starting to discuss. Another level to this is that it's said that we have material coverings, actually, two material bodies. That is a gross body made of earth, water, fire, etc., and also a subtle body made of mind and intelligence and ego. So this is a whole other subject, but I just thought I'd touch on it, and I can see I'm already going into my time here. So at the time of death, just briefly, that subtle covering of the mind and intelligence and ego goes with the spirit soul into the next body. So that subtle covering is constantly with the body until the time of ultimate liberation, which is known as mukti, which we'll go into at another time also. So Krishna is therefore instructing Arjuna that do I need to finish soon? You've appeared.
No, that's okay. Yeah,
Okay,
you can wrap everything up now.
So Krishna is therefore instructing Arjuna that this process of transmigration is not worthy of grief, and therefore the wise do not lament for it, and that his grief is born of ignorance. So Krishna, so as I said in the beginning, this sounds like a very harsh statement, because within this world we experience that grief at the loss of relatives or friends or anyone, can be, even people we don't know, can be devastating. So Krishna here, he's like giving an absolute statement, if you like. He's saying that because the soul is never destroyed, therefore we should not lament. But when we are separated in this world from relationships, mother, father, wife, son, husband, friends, then it's very natural to feel this grief, and not in one way because we are in the bodily conception of life, but also because the soul also experiences relationship. So this is just one other point I wanted to get across, that the soul actually does, in his or her pure state, hunger for love and relationship. So it's natural for us to form these affectionate relationships and attachments within the material world, and then to feel grief. But if we have this type of knowledge that Krishna is giving here, then it can be a great comfort. Because why? Because it gives like a framework for understanding what's going on, if you like. That actually this person hasn't just ceased to be, and therefore we should lament. This personality that we knew has gone to another destination, if you like. And within that framework of spiritual understanding, then this can be of great comfort and use during the time of grief. And there is always a reason, as I discussed earlier. There is always a reason why somebody may leave their body. It may not appear to be logical to us, but as we will hear later in Krishna's teachings on action and reaction and karma, there is always a reason and why we are in this body at a certain time, and then we leave this body. And another point just to finish on is that this cycle of birth and death we've been talking about, that is not also an eternal situation. And really the point of spiritual practice is to break, if you like, or become liberated from this cycle of birth and death, or samsara. So I just wanted to say that these teachings, they're not necessarily something we need to only understand intellectually, because as Krishna will say later on, there is what is called gyan, and there is also vigyan. So gyan means knowledge. So we can gain knowledge and we can say, okay, yes, I agree that I am not this physical body, I am the soul. But what actual realization do we have of that? So therefore, spiritual practice, especially through mantra meditation practice, and internally considering or meditating on these concepts, is very useful. Not that we should just learn like parrot fashion, or just only intellectually agree. We in a way we need to feel within ourselves that we are consciousness and spirit soul, and we are beyond this material body. So therefore, realized knowledge is superior. So we can meditate on these incredible teachings of Krishna here, and yeah, I mean, it certainly helped me in my life to understand that I was not this physical body, and that this was not the be all and end all of everything. So as soon as I heard these teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, immediately I recognized them as spiritual truth, and they have been so invaluable within my life and into the future. Obviously, they will be also. So I'm going to end my talk here. Thank you. Over to you, Subhadra.
Hi, I'm really sorry I appeared before you were actually finishing. I thought
That's
you were about to
okay.
finish, so I apologize for that. Well, I just wanted to say that at a point of a class, you made me remember about an example I've heard. I don't remember who said it, but it's like in this world, we can think of the example of a pianist who has a broken piano, because we may think, so if the soul, if spirit is different or independent from matter, why are we attached to matter? Why are we confused here? And so I heard this example, like it's like a pianist who's very skilled, he's a great pianist, but he has got a broken piano. So
Hmm.
he'll do his best with a broken piano. So it's like us with this body, or when this body gets sick, and we get affected by that, or we feel that we're affected by that. It's like we were a good pianist with not such a good piano. So we're conditioned by that.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good example. That's a good example. I remember also my Gurudev saying to us in his older age, he must have been in his late 80s. He said to us, your body, he was looking at me and others, your body is very strong. He said, but your soul is very weak. Because you're not understanding that you are actually soul. He said, whereas I am the opposite, that my body is very weak and old, but my soul, and he went like this, very strong.
Yeah,
So
that's what
the more we
is.
identify with ourselves as a spiritual entity, because there's the old cliche, right? But it's very true that we are not material beings trying to have a spiritual experience. We are actually spiritual beings having a material experience. So I really like this, even though it sounds like a little bit of a kind of cliche, but still, it really, for me, it really sums it up that we are spiritual beings, but we are having this material experience, and in some ways we are confused about it. Like when we're born, we don't get this handbook of what we are and how to use this body, and in some ways, this Bhagavad Gita, this is like the handbook for like the user manual you get when you buy a new car or something. It's like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's right. So thanks for that clear and complete explanation of matter and spirit, Madhuvrata. I think this really helps us understanding the nature of the word and who we are in relation to it. So
Mm.
thanks so much for
Thank you
this
so
session,
much,
and hope to
Barbara.
see you next time in
Yeah, see you
another
in a couple of
episode.
weeks. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And well, if today's session spoke to you, please like and share this video with anyone who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe as well and tap the bell icon so you never miss a new episode, or to catch up on our past episodes if you missed any. Remember to join us every live session Monday and Tuesday, where each guest brings fresh perspectives on the Bhagavad Gita to inspire our journey. And if you connected with Madhuvrat or with any of our speakers or have questions, please leave a comment below or send us a message on Instagram at Ashram Talks ENG, because we'd love to continue the conversation. Thank you for being here today, and stay well. We look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.